Okay, so how to approach those different report sections. So for nature and scope, you want to include how the legal issue is seen or legislated in different countries. So while you will be focusing on something relevant to Australia or Queensland specifically, you can think of nature and scope on that global kind of scale. You'll also want to state the domestic legislation which can influence the legal issue. And you could also find international legislation on your legal issue as well to show that comparison between Australia and other countries. In terms of your decision really needs to be clear. So it can be really tempting to be a fence sitter where you sort of say that both of them are pretty good, both of them have pros and cons, and you don't make it clear what you're suggesting should be done. But it's best if you do. So you could argue, for example, although stakeholder 1 raises some good points, stakeholder 2 is more disadvantaged by the current laws, and therefore this particular thing is best, this law reform alternative. Or you could be focusing on the legal alternatives, saying legal alternative 1 would be effective in the short term, but legal alternative 2 would solve the legal issue without any possible reoccurrence, and therefore alternative 2 is best. So making sure that you justify your decision using that legal criteria that I mentioned earlier. So the rule of law, just and equitable outcomes, protecting human rights, all of those different things that are those principles the law is meant to be aligned with. In your recommendations, make sure you are detailed. So if your recommendation is to change the law, then what law are you changing? What are you changing it to? Why are you changing it? And how easy or difficult will changing it be? So don't just say something really generic. You need to think about all of the considerations that would go into what you're suggesting. And ensure your recommendation is a legal recommendation as well. So, for example, assigning organizations to teach children about cybercrime can be an effective recommendation, but it's not a legal one because it's not legally binding. So, legal recommendations could be passing a bill, having some kind of act or some kind of charter or a referendum. Those things are legally binding. Implications. So think about whether your recommendation will make a change and what the impact will be. So it may promote more protection of human rights in Australia, for example. And think about the practical implications of the decision to make sure that you're demonstrating that higher level thinking.